let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be making the Mav pack from Linds Handmade. I made mine with the pattern suggestions on the very front, which is where you sandwich it, squish it, top stitch it, and then I did binding on the back panel. I know a lot of people have been changing it up by adding binding to the front and the back. If you do that, I would make sure that you split your zipper panel accordingly so that when you're zipping it up, you don't get caught on that binding. But it's so cute. I don't mind this here at all. I think if it were any higher up, you might not enjoy that, but it's super comfy. I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe. Alright, I'm going to start off with the part of this pattern that is actually not part of this pattern at all, which is piecing together the front panel. And getting my lighting just right. Okay. So I do explain in my cutting video what I've done with these front panels. But I've just cut 5 strips that are 1.75 wide, and then I'm using like a 3/8 inch seam allowance to sew these together. And then I like the look of a flattened seam, but I don't want to top stitch these, so I may just press them and hope they stay, because I am using a self-adhesive interfacing, so I'm hoping that kind of helps lay it flat. I think it'll be good, because I'm using just purple thread right now and I don't feel like changing out to each color I would need. So as I'm sewing, I'm just watching the edge on my seam guide. The seam guide I'm using is from Sewing Gold, Steve at Sewing Gold. Alright, and then I just have my 5th piece here. If you don't have a seam guide, you can use washi tape to mark it out, or you can mark it on your fabric. I'm debating using double-sided tape to also hold this down, but I'm worried you'd be able to see it on the other side. So cute though. The colors are like super 90s to me. I love it. So that is the whole thing pieced together. Hopefully it's big enough. No, I don't think it is. I think I used too big of a seam allowance. I can't even go this way with it. Incredible. Okay, so I just need to cut one more strip since I used such a big seam allowance. I want to see if I have like a fun green or something, because it's so fun. Or maybe I'll use the red again, because that might look weird, but it's so fun. And they're like kind of puffy, with the seams, the way they're sitting. I don't hate it. All right, so I gotta find one more color. It's kind of perfect because I had one more color kind of in this family of vinyls. And if nothing else, I could always do black, but I would rather not. So if you cut it the way I mentioned, just use like 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Oh, it was kind of meant to be though. So I can't do diagonal because it's not big enough. So we'll just do up and down stripes and I'm here for it. So I think what I'm gonna do is just let those seams sit where they want to. There's no sense in fighting it. And I'm just going to stick on that interfacing and then trace the original size. Well, maybe I'll take it over to the cutting table. I can get up one more time before I'm done for the day. So if you did not watch my cutting video, this is the Lofty fleece from Fabric Therapy. It is a stickable interfacing, self-adhesive, and it reminds me of like styrofoam, but in a good way. Okay. So it's kind of fun for this because I can press those seams down as I go. Kind of an adventure, huh? And what's nice is I can not worry about pressing it before it's ready. It's not super permanent immediately. All right, let's see. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go cut it really quick. All right, when I tell you that was satisfying, it was so satisfying. I'm gonna do a really quick basting stitch around all these sectioned together vinyls though, so that as I'm sewing this, it doesn't come undone. It's extremely satisfying to see these all together because I pick pretty much all the colors we sell and I'm like, great. I love all of them together. Great. And like, I truly love how the seams fell naturally. It creates like this really fun feeling to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a nameplate really quick as well. I don't know, I almost don't want to. No, it's good. It's good. Oops. Okay. So, pretty sure this is the center. Yeah. This right here. So close. actually, it's kind of perfect. 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 Just keep in mind that lofty fleece has stickiness to it. Obviously, it's self-adhesive, so it could be a little bit extra to get through with seam ripper, etc. Try to keep it out of your seam allowance. Okay, so there is our front. I'm going to go ahead and get my zippers prepped. I am going to use binding on this bag in the back. But I'm still doing the inside zipper pocket the same way. And then I'm adding a double zipper pull. I did cut my zipper tape longer than the gusset piece, or the zipper panel, I should say. Just to make my life easier. So this here is my D-ring connector piece. So I'm going to go ahead and center tape that. And get that taken care of. I feel like all these little things you can get out of the way in the beginning just make for a much quicker project. So we're going to cut this into thirds because I am adding 2 connectors. So it'd be like 2 inches per connector. And then I've got my 3 D-rings, triangle rings, what have you. And she has a video tutorial for this bag, so if you'd love to watch her make it, I'd highly recommend it. I kind of did while I was editing other videos. Make sure that your folded raw edge is hidden inside the hardware. Alright, this is our top connector piece, and we're going to line that up pretty much exactly. I'm going to overhang it by just like 1/4 of an inch, if that, 1/8 of an inch. Yeah. Make sure you've got it centered. And then she recommends a zipper foot for this. I should be good with this thin foot on my machine, but I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you want to sew right next to your hardware, not through it, of course. And then we really don't need to trim any part of this. We're just going to turn it through, and you're going to top stitch that. Oh, look at those colors together. I love it. and then this goes on the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and baste that now. And then she makes sure to mention whatever you want to face out, be facing up, because then when you make it, that's facing out. So there is that in place on the back. I think it would be kind of fun to add like a swoopy pocket on the back or something. Might be something I do in the future if I make more. I should say when I make more, not if, because I'm sure I will. While I'm working on the back panel, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish it. I feel like there's all kinds of ways people do these like back triangle pieces. I'm just going to fold that down and slide this into place and then top stitch. Such a cute little thing. So I love how it's just like not in the way at all. So I don't feel bad about adding two of them. Alright, so all I did was I folded the longest edge down. And this is only really easy because I'm using the accessory weight vinyl. So it's super thin, like almost thinner than cork. It's a little haphazard, but I'm here for it. Okay. And then I'm going to baste these on into place. And then I'm going to trim off that little dog ear. So cute. Alright, so now we're ready to add our zipper. Here, I'm going to go ahead and use double-sided tape. There. And on the right side of the water-resistant canvas. So what I did was I just scratched the back to make sure there's white lines showing. That's how I know I've got the wrong side. Okay. And you want your zipper right side down on your exterior fabric. And then the lining goes right over top of that. And I'm pressing those seams towards each other, away from the zipper. And then we're going to top stitch. That self-adhesive interfacing added the perfect amount of weight to that zipper panel. Okay, now we're going to add the bottom gusset. Make sure your zipper pulls are on and or within the seam. My friend Brittany had mentioned it would be so cute to have crossbody strap connectors there. I totally agree. So we're making a little sandwich, and I'm going to double check the seam allowance we use. Alright, I thought it was 1/4, but I just wanted to double check. And then we're going to top stitch through those sides, making sure everything fits together nicely. So I'm just going to flatten this seam. Even if you added like a handle, kind of like the tag-along, I think it's the tag-along bag has, that would be so cute. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and baste this together really quick, because I am binding the back. So right now I'm basting together the back. I feel like the front will hold together pretty well if I don't baste it, but I do want to mark out my centers. Where'd you go? Almost. So I'm just laying this as flat as I can, using my sharp scissors so I can get a nice little snip. And then I don't like to cut through my zipper. Every once in a while I'll do it, and I used to use my thread zapper because it would kind of melt the zipper tape right then and there. I'm like, okay, I can handle that, but that's good. All right. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. All right, so this is my front. These are my front pieces. That's all together. So we're gonna finish our our lining really quick. So these are my tabs. Wrong side has a white hue to it, and I want the wrong side facing up. These are so cute and so little. Just barely. And then I'm going to top stitch that open. So I am not turning this through the pocket. I feel like her video is a really, really good example of her instructions. Like, oh my gosh, what a novel thing. But seriously, Just kind of wanted to try my own version of it. It is really neat though. Wrong side. Wrong side. Okay. Right side. So I'm going to add tape to the right side. Of all of these. Just exactly where my zipper is going to go. And this is my bottom lining piece. So we're going to start there, centering your zipper. Now, if you are wanting those to match up perfectly, I would say maybe cut your zipper tape to like 5.75, 5.5. And we're going to press that down and top stitch through. And now lining, touching lining of the zipper pocket, right sides together. And then this is the top of our lining here. And that will go right there. Make sure you've lined up the edges. And then we'll sew as close as we can. I didn't get as close as I could on that bottom half, so it's a little wonky. That's okay. In this part, we're just going to fold up to top stitch. And you can see that's super wonky. It's fine. So now what you would do is fold up, or cut these to match. Fold them up and leave a birthing hole, but like I said, I'm just going to sew the whole way around. And it might seem a little unconventional to not sew the sides here, but like you can't get to them. And when this bag is finished, there's absolutely no way you can get to it. So it's just giving you a little extra room for binding and top stitching everything together. I'm just going to trim it to match. And then I'll probably cut it so that it's the same size as the other side. Because yeah, it's just a little bit off. It's okay. Just a little wonky. It's fine. Alright, that's my back. Front. Strap. I'm like really second guessing my strap now. Like all of this together is just like a lot. So I think I'm going to go with a black webbing and save this for another time because like, whew, it's a lot. I know I'm jumping like all over the place, but I'm going to go ahead and finish the strap. It's always nice to just be like, okay, and I'm done. Here's my strap. Because it's such a quick sew. So I've got a piece of vinyl here to cover the raw edge. I cut mine a little bit bigger than Lindsay does in the pattern, but I'm going to grab my slide adjuster. and just sew this down all together. And then you could also use rivets there if you wanted. What we're going to do now is take our square ring, slide this through, around, down. And then on this end, double-sided tape and our snap hook. Always check your snap hooks. If you ever get defective hardware, please feel free to reach out to me if I sold it to you. If it's somebody else's, I can't help you. I actually did a strap like this on a barrel bag. It was so fun. Okay. So there's that. And then on this end, we slide this piece through. Add our snap hook. This little piece would be such a good way to use up scraps of vinyl or webbing. I'm so sorry. Like, as long as I coordinated, I feel like nobody would really care. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and top stitch that on. I feel like I'm working on Guardians again. Which I think I made close to 25 if anybody was counting. It's so fun. I don't know why, but I found it easiest to start at the very top here. And just leave needle in, pivot. Always leave your needle down when you are pivoting. Oh crap, I meant to add a little woven label right here on that strap. So there is our strap finished. this was a much better webbing choice. So cute. Okay, now comes the fun part, the controversial part, if you will, which is, do you use the binding or do you do the turn hole? And I'm gonna do both. Yay! So I am just marking out my centers super quick. Ooh, they're not the same. May just say, let's see what we could do. Why am I so confused? Thank you. There are markings on the pattern and the template pieces, but that would mean I'd have to get up again. And I don't think that's going to happen right now. I actually could have basted those layers together on this side too. Probably should. So I'm going to call this my center. I'm going to baste it. Maybe it says to. Yeah, it does. Okay. Which makes sense because like you're not separating the gusset. If you have a thinner zipper tape that seems like maybe it has some stretch to it, basting through it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. It'll just keep it from stretching. Okay. I feel like if you follow the shape of the bag well enough, this shouldn't be a problem. Like if your centers are off just a teeny tiny bit. And then we are going to baste this into place on the exterior at 1/4 inch and then 3/8 along the bottom because we're leaving that bottom open. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. Zipper first. Zipper goes on the front. And that is your sign to go to bed. If you're working on this and you've messed that up, I'm so glad I didn't sew it. I think I would have been really sad. I don't know that it would have been like the end of the world. I think it would still be sellable. No one would really know, but I'd be sad because I worked so hard and it looks so cute. And I'm definitely going to need my screwdriver to help me around all of these corners. If it's not lining up quite right, it could be that I used slightly bigger of a seam allowance than I should have. So what I'm going to do is just kind of move everything in a little bit more. And that'll help. But another thing we can do is just gently clip into those corners as well. So you can see that kind of just relieves the stress on that little curve. Keep in mind our seam allowance is not very big, so don't go crazy. So yeah, just relieve some of that stress. And then I'm actually going to start down here at that full seam allowance and then reduce everywhere else. And I've got my screwdriver here to act as a finger getting really close. And I can hear my bobbin is getting low. Of all of the ones I have seen people make, the top stitching on the front just really sets it off. So that's why I decided I wanted to do a method closest to the pattern. And like, you know, the testers and Lindsay both all tried tons of ways to make this. So it's one of those, like, you kind of want to trust what they went through to perfect it. Alright, and then I'm getting close to the bottom again. So I'm going to keep that seam allowance, but increase it as I get to the bottom. Oh, look at that. Okay, and now we smoosh it all. Right sides together. And the bottom gets left unsewn to turn the bag through. So I'm going to unzip, smoosh things down. And I am clipping from the other side so that we can follow that seam allowance that we've already stitched out. So, keeping that in mind, you really don't want to use materials that are going to be way too thick. Which is one of the reasons I decided to go with the thinner vinyls, because piecing together anything thicker would have been just a nightmare. Okay. Trust the process, right? Okay. So even though we're not sewing it all together, you want to make sure that you clip it all together so that you know the things are lining up the way they should. And we're actually going to start here and basically follow around your interfacing. but make sure you're smooshing these layers by hand as well, and feeling to make sure you're not sewing through any part that you shouldn't be. Especially at the zipper. Like, peek through, make sure your zipper's flat, you're not sewing through the teeth. Like, I don't know what I've got going on here. Okay, it was a little pucker in my zipper tape. Okay. And then make sure that you leave that bottom open. Ugh. I knew it was close. Alright. Rude. And then I am only going to trim down the seam allowance around the bottom curves. If you trim the sides or anything like that, make sure you're only trimming the thick parts and not your zipper tape. And then you gotta hope you caught all the pieces. And then make sure you're pulling out furthest away first. Because if you try to pull out from this hole what's closest, you're not gonna be able to get out what's furthest away because you're gonna be blocking the opening. So yeah, this part definitely a workout. She says you can keep a blow dryer nearby and kind of warm up all of those layers to make them more malleable. So this is where binding it would very much be easier if you are a fan of binding. If you're not a fan of binding, then you're gonna love this. but I think I tried to pull away something that was closest, and that's where I'm struggling. And having not made this before, I'm not sure what's furthest away and what's closest. Like that's closest. I think maybe I just pulled out the wrong piece first. Okay, yeah. So reach in there. Don't grab the side of your gusset. Grab the very top. Yeah. Okay. It's already so much easier. Like, because the rest is going to follow. I do apologize. I might have to pull this closer to my body for better leverage, so you may not see what I'm doing. But yeah, you want to get the top out first. Just kind of work the rest around. There we go. If I didn't catch all the pieces, I might cry. I don't know how we wouldn't though, but I'm just saying. All right. Oh my god, I love it. I almost don't want to top stitch it. Like, it looks good, but I can't get away with not top stitching it because of this hole. Unless I hand sewed it. Then you want to like press this pretty well. Could use like a fusible webbing to close that up. No, I think top stitching it will look good. This vinyl really acts like a leather, so it's kind of fun to see it change shapes. Alright, so we want to make sure that we're sticking these layers back together. So I'm going to use a little piece of double-sided tape. To keep it from shifting on me. You really could hand sew that shut though if you didn't want to top stitch. Okay, feeling pretty good about that not shifting. but keep in mind there is quite a bit of bulk there. So I'm going to start this over here. And then as I'm doing this, I am pulling these layers apart from each other. I've got a pucker in this corner, and to be honest, I don't care. Okay, and then I'm pressing the seam up to make sure that I'm catching all of those layers. And now, up around the zipper is easy. You just want to make sure you keep your zipper pulls out of the way. I would keep it zipped if you can. And keep your needle in as you're readjusting. And that's just going to keep the edge of the bag looking as good as it can be. And then pull those threads through. I love it. I love it so much. I wish that wasn't crooked, but it is what it is. We did close up that hole. That's good. Okay. Alright, and now we'll do the easy part. I'm going to bind this, which means right sides together. Okay. So I'm just going to baste around all those layers. So I would say if you are proficient in binding, this pattern could take anywhere from 40 minutes to 2 hours, and then if you want to do the turn method, it would take anywhere from an hour and a half to 4 hours, depending on your level of perfection, because like, yeah, probably should pick this. What is even happening? And let that breathe, but again, it's for me. It'll be okay. It's really not that noticeable. Okay, but now we just mark those centers. Hi, Ban. So then we're going to sew most of it together with that like 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then we'll grab our binding to finish off the back of it. And I truly love this interfacing for this bag. Oh my goodness. Like, it has structure, but it's soft. That didn't break, it just flew out of my hand. Okay. My goodness. So cute. Sorry, Ben. Alright, and then I've got this matching binding with the stars and the rainbow. I love this one so much. I'm gonna wrap that around. Oh, no, that's my tape. You can have it. And then I'm going to use my Binding Buddy tape. This is from Weft and Warp Co. But it, hey, excuse me, sir. It's up. Can we just not, oh. But it is 0.7 inches, 0.75 inches wide, making it so perfect when you're attaching binding because it's like not all the way to the edges, but it's close. So I just unpeel a little bit at a time and wrap it around the edge. Any edges that are uneven, like, I'm gonna go ahead and trim that down. You don't want it to be way too small or you're not going to be able to get like a good wrap around it. But you can kind of pull on it to get it to stretch over that seam. And I mean, if nothing else, cats love playing with it, so that's fun. And this is a non-fraying binding, so you don't really need to finish off any of the edges except the like small cut edge, and it's 1 inch thick, nope, wide, and definitely domestic friendly. So hopefully you can see, just kind of wrapping it around the edge, clipping. If you're worried about not catching it, you can fold a larger portion to the back side. And then a smaller portion to the front so that you know you've caught it on both sides, because that can be the trickiest part with binding. Okay. And now I'm back to where I started, so I can cut it just a little bit longer than the existing. And I'm just going to fold over that raw edge and then wrap this like that. And then we'll sew around all of it. And then if it starts to kind of lift up in any areas, you can just press it down with like a flathead screwdriver. I've also seen some people use a cuticle pusher, which I think is so cool. Whoop. Got a little off there. And they do sell pre-made like double fold bias tape that you can do the same kind of method with. And you can see I definitely caught it on this side too. It's not pretty up here, it kind of bounced, but it's not extended into the seam allowance, so I'm calling it a win. And then we'll just flip this through. So my stitches got a little weird here. That's okay. It's so cute. This right here makes me want to cry a little bit. You know what? I bet I could just clip that little stitch because I can see it. And like, it's still all caught. It'd be fine. Oh no, I can't. Okay. That's fine. Well, actually, that made it ever so slightly better, and I will live with that. But yeah, so it's a perfect size for your phone and some other stuffs. The zippered pocket is pretty handy, and if you're using binding, I would still recommend adding those tabs. Like you can see, it's right there, but if you don't add the tabs, you're gonna risk your zipper tape fraying a lot quicker. So then we can go ahead and clip on the strap. And I'm really glad I bought the templates because yeah, I can see myself making a ton of these for shows. Like nobody wants big bags anymore, they want little bags. So I think this is one downside to finishing the bag with binding is like it has a spine, but if it's not full of stuff, you have that like indentation almost. Alright everybody, and that is the Mav pack finished. Oh my god, it's so cute. I'm trying to think of any changes I would make. I don't know, it fits really nicely. Like it's comfy. It's right there, right where you need it. I would say if you really wanted to, You could add a slip pocket, especially if you're finishing it with binding. You could add a slip pocket on this front. Well, I guess you could just put your phone in the back, but I'm just thinking like if you really like organization. No, I can't get my phone in there. You could add a slip pocket just like right there so that it's always right against the flap, and then you've got this open for everything else. I'm really happy with my stabilizer choices. So I don't have anything in the gusset. If I were going to make a ton of them with the binding, I would say I might add a little bit of Decaville Light into the gusset, but it's going to make it more of a workout for your hands. The self-adhesive fleece is really nice. This like quilted panel looks so cool. It's very 90s. You could even add a slip pocket to the very back if you wanted. There's tons of different modifications you could make. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know down below what changes you have made to the Mav Pack, and I'll see you all later. Bye.